What is going on, guys? Steven from Merc Films here, back again with another episode of Full Tune. Today we're doing something a little different from what I usually do. Usually I just do like a cinematic, and then I put on screen a bunch of modifications we've done to the car and basically test it and then put up the timing results at the end. There's no talking whatsoever, but with the release of Forza Horizon 4 just over the horizon, a lot of people already playing it. In fact, official release coming up pretty soon. I wanted to kind of change things up, try some new things out before that comes out. So hopefully doing it this way will give me an idea what I want to do, you know, just try some things out before the game comes out. So when we do the Full Tune series in Forza Horizon 4, you know, it will be a little more polished and I'll be ready for it, be a little more ready for it when the game does come out and I start doing the series again on that game. For those of you who do not know what the Full Tune series is, it's basically a series I do here on the channel where I go into either Forza Horizon 3 or Forza 7. We have, there's two branches of the series, and basically take any, typically a street car, occasionally supercars, but typically a street car that we can go in and modify it to its fullest potential, or at least what I think is its fullest potential within S1 class as a street car. The goal is to kind of have a street/track car, race car kind of deal by the end of the series. But what I wanted to do this time to change things up, I'm doing this commentary and to give you guys maybe some insight as to what was going through my mind when I was doing the tune, what I thought the car was like before the tune. So basically a little review of the car in its stock form, and then a review of the car once it was done, and some thoughts as to why I did what I did when it came to modifying the car I have chosen for the episode. And like I said, for those of you who are not familiar with the series, we basically tune these cars and we test them on a toge path or a toge track I've set up in the game, and we basically put it through its test. The test basically consists of how the car does on a dig, from a launch, how it does as far as, you know, straight line speed goes, how its cornering abilities as far as, you know, tight corners to high speed corners, stuff like that, and then its ability to do a handbrake U-turn. I want to test basically all branches of the car. What we're going for is a full balanced car. Maybe you can just go into any online race or online adventure, take that car and be somewhat competitive with it, is the goal with this series. Anyway, like I said, we are doing this a little new thing. Usually I don't do the commentary, so leave down in the comments what you guys think. If you guys would like to see more commentary style Forza videos, or if you guys want to go back to the cinematic style video. Anyway, I'm done talking. Let's just see what car we got for today. Roll the clip. Today's video is on the 2008 BMW M3. I will now go ahead and give you guys some of the stats on screen right now as far as what the stock car looks like. It comes in within A class at 734 PI. In its stock form, it makes about 414 horsepower, 295 foot-pounds of torque. It's a naturally aspirated V8, I believe, if I remember right. Nothing crazy. Rear-wheel drive. Its curb weight's around 3,600 pounds. Nothing crazy. You're basically your pretty average super saloon, if you will, as far as BMWs are concerned. Now, in the car's stock form, it does perform relatively well. I did try the car on the Toge course that we usually do the tests on. It did it in it averaged under 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Relatively slow, but it makes sense as it isn't within A class and still on the stock tires that the car came with. The car is completely stock, not tuned whatsoever. And it did a 325, which I think is pretty good for an A-class car, competing against some of the S1 cars who came in pretty high 3-minute flats, you know, anywhere between 3 minutes and 3 minutes and 10 seconds. We have cars like that on the leaderboard. This car in the stock form did pretty well for what it is when it's stock. And then I did some just free roam cruising just to get a feel for the car. The car is it's easy to control, but there's a lot of, it does have a little bit of snap oversteer. It has that tendency, especially when you're under the arm brakes really hard and you let off the gas. The back end does like to slide out a little bit, even in its stock form. And then once when you try to get back on power, especially on a tighter corner, a lower speed corner, if you're like, you know, high RPM second gear or low RPM third gear, it does like to spin the tires a little bit, even in its stock form. And you might be struggling to get a little bit of traction in those lower gears. But once you're moving a little bit, you're doing medium to high speed turns. The car isn't half bad, even the stock form, even with the stock tires that the car comes with. It's not half bad. It's pretty decent in my opinion. And then I was just curious. Since it is a rear-wheel drive car, I didn't want to do some drift runs to see how the car does. So I went to the oil refinery area just to see how the car would do on the drift course. And to be honest, it didn't do too bad, minus some of the traffic incidences I did have while trying to do the drift runs. Other than that, the car did well, and then any spin outs that happened was really my fault. But as far as linking corners, the gearing and stuff, the car had adequate power, and it was able to cook up the tires quite a bit. Not bad at all. I think if I raised the rear tire pressure just a little bit, kind of turned them into balloons a little bit, the car would definitely have no problem getting sideways and linking those corners. No problem. Anyway, overall, I thought the car was very decent in its stock form. Honestly, I wouldn't mind, you know, if you're doing like a stock car challenge where you take a stock car, you have to race it. The BMW M3 is definitely good for racing. Now, as far as, you know, like keying and infection game types like that goes, like the little miscellaneous game types, the little mini games, if you will, that comes with Forza, it might not do as well. But in a racing situation, if you're not going against super high horsepower cars or super lightweight cars, I think it would be a decent contender for cars up against in A class. So that might be something to consider, especially if it was a C-class car, it would have been amazing, but that's not the case. Now moving on, we have gone through and modified the car a little bit, as you guys saw in the little cinematic I just showed you earlier. This is now a modified BMW M3. What I wanted to do is, first of all, get it up into S1. I wanted to obviously shed a lot of the weight. I wanted to look good, but I wanted to get rid of a lot of that weight and also get a decent horsepower rating for a rear-wheel drive car. I could have gone something a little crazier, maybe like a 750 horsepower or so, probably, in the end with a fully upgraded engine and then going into handling afterwards. But I felt like with the rear-wheel drive drivetrain and the tire size we ran in the back, it would have a hard time putting the power down. Obviously, everyone would definitely put a wide body on the car, but I want to do it so I could widen the track, of course, and run a little wider tire. But I also wanted to change it up and do a turbo mod. That's right, I went ahead and did a twin turbo swap on the car, stock motor. Let's get into the upgrade list here. So as far as engine mods are concerned, we have the factory engine, the factory V8, I believe it's a V8, I'm pretty sure. With the it has a twin turbo swap, but it's the upgraded sports twin turbo. I was going to do the race twin turbo to make the power, but the power band, the torque shove got a little too sudden. I was trying to go for a linear power band, especially with the rear wheel drive being a factor here. I wanted to have a relatively linear power band and try to reduce the sudden torque shove and try to make it linear possible. The race turbos basically made the horsepower shove and the torque shove very sudden, around 4,000, 3,500 RPMs. It would just, the power would just come right in, and that was a little hard to modulate the throttle to get the tires to hook up, especially in those low gear situations, and then low RPM third gear situations. It likes to roast up the tires quite a bit. So we went with the sport twin turbo setup. And then after that, it was pretty much trying to fill in for the PI, and I wanted a solid 600 horsepower. We have the race intake. We ran with the sport fuel system, race ignition, race exhaust, race intercooler, race flywheel. Moving on to platform and handling, we have a fully upgraded race platform, you know, racing coilovers, anti-roll bars, you name it. We also have a race roll cage. I did a full roll cage on the car since it looks like it stabilized the car quite a bit, made the chassis a little more rigid, and reduced some of the body roll that came with the stock car. Believe it or not, the stock car didn't have much body roll. It wasn't that bad. It was a pretty well-rounded car. Having a roll cage definitely did help a little bit. And then to follow it up, we do have the race weight reduction. The car comes in weighing in at about 3,000 pounds. Its power is at around 600 horsepower and 428 foot-pounds of torque. You should be able to see that on screen right now. Following that up, we have the drivetrain. It's a fully upgraded race drivetrain, race transmission, race differential, two-way differential. We have the race drive shaft, racing clutch, everything you name it, fully upgraded just to try to get closer to the top of S1, the maximum potential for this car. And this is probably the important part, was the type of tire and the type of tire size. We went with, as far as tires and rims are concerned, we're running the race tire compound, of course. To be competitive in the S1 class, you need some race tires. And then we are also, in the fronts, we are running 285/30, 19 wheels up, or tires up front. I didn't want to go too wide. I didn't want to get too much understeer, but having a skinny tire up front also doesn't really help anything. I kind of want to be close to a square stance, but not a complete square stance, since I don't want to run a 305 or anything crazy up front. That might just induce a little more understeer in the end, especially on the low speed corners. On high speed corners, it definitely would have helped, but on the low speed corners, it might induce a little more understeer because of the tire width. Then in the back, we are running 315s. I didn't want to go too crazy. I figured, you know, I could probably go like, you know, 325, something crazy like that, a little bit wider in the back. But at the same time, I wanted to save on weight, and long as the car, I could put down the car with some throttle modulation, it didn't bother me too much. And then, of course, as far as the wheels are concerned, it's the HRE C100s. I figured they look pretty decent with the Liberty Walk wide body kit, and I wanted to try to tie in the look of the car. Now, as far as the tuning is concerned, I'll put the full tuning in the description down below if you guys want to see what the exact tuning for this car is. But if you guys would like to download this exact car, if you guys want to have the exact same upgrades and tuning on the same platform, you guys want to try the car out, by the time this video is up, all you have to do is go into the tuning section of Forza Horizon 3, search out my gamertag Machine X Cinema. It should be on screen right about now, and it should be labeled Full Tune BMW M3, and just download it, give it a shot. Or if you guys just want to just copy what I have and maybe make your own adjustments to adjust to your own driving style, feel free. The full tuning is down in the description. This car was one of those Forza cars that I didn't have to touch very much. Didn't have to mess with it as much. The platform itself to start off with is so good, you don't have to do too much as far as tuning is concerned to make the car do better. In fact, a lot of times if you mess with the car too much, if you mess with the alignment and the suspension geometry too much, the car tends to do a lot worse than it would have if you haven't touched it, in my experience. So I didn't want to mess with it too much. So for tuning for the tires, we lower the PSI in the front and the back. It's running about 29 PSI front and rear. Gearing I left alone because it has a pretty short final gear. It has a 4.3 final gear ratio with a race transmission, and it actually feels really good, especially on the Toge course. It felt very nice, and honestly, even in a highway bombing run, it tops out around 202, and that's actually not that bad in my opinion, especially for an S1 car. Not bad at all. Very viable vehicle to take in an online adventure, in my opinion. Then we have the alignment. The only thing I messed with, I zeroed out the toe, and then the front caster I increased to 5.6, with the front camber being at -1.2, rear camber being at -1.0. I just increased the negative camber just a little bit to help with the tighter turns, the tighter sections definitely helped out quite a bit. Especially in the front, the initial turn response is a little better with the extra camber. The reason I didn't do toe is because simply the car just didn't need it. In my opinion, the car has minimal understeer, and it's not terrible as far as trying to get the back end to bite when you're going back on power. It's not that big of a deal. And then finally, we do have the suspension geometry, the damping, anti-roll bars, springs, aero, all that stuff. Everything I left alone, including the differential. The reason I left the differential alone is because, well, the car rotates very nicely mid-turn. You're able to steer the car around because of its slightly longer wheelbase compared to other sports cars. You're able to modulate throttle through the turn and basically rotate the car around, steer the car around with the throttle, not just with the steering wheel, and that felt really nice. I'm sure that that's just the way the power comes on, the way the wheelbase is. But I was worried if I messed with the differential too much that it would take that away from the car. I didn't want to mess with it, so I left the rear differential untouched. Didn't want to mess with it too much. Anyway, now without further ado, let's get into the testing. Alright, and that is pretty much it for the car. The car came in at around Around 3 minutes, 1 second, 0.03 seconds. Pretty much putting it right in front of the 1998 Nissan Silvia Kza S14, which came in at 3:02. Coming in the low 3-minute section, not quite being able to beat 3 minutes. I think if I drove the car a little more, practiced it in it a little more, I could get below that. But the idea is I do about 3 runs, 3 or 4 or 5 runs, and I get to take the best time from that. And that's pretty much what we came up with. 3 minutes, 1 second, almost flat. Putting the car kind of in the lower tier, believe it or not, which is weird because the car actually drove very nicely. Now, I think where it was slowed down quite a bit is it's relatively low power compared to some of the other cars in this S1 group that we have here. And it's also rear-wheel drive, and this game you could kind of feel the downsides to rear-wheel drive a lot more compared to other games. It was having a hard time putting the power down coming out of corners, even with a little bit of the tuning I did do. Had a little bit of hard time not oversteering coming off throttle, basically snap oversteer or lift off oversteer. Not really snap oversteer, it's more lift off oversteer in this situation. But other than that, the car actually drove very nicely. I could see myself driving this in maybe like an online adventure type deal, or even like in a normal online race or a single player race, no problem. I think it's a very viable vehicle, just not, it's like the weird middle ground. This car came in at a weird middle ground. It felt really nice, but wasn't actually fast. Kind of like the Toyota GT86. The GT86 and the Honda S2000 felt very quick, but they did not really compare to some of the other cars. But those were also lower S1 PI cars, as you can see on screen right now. The Toyota GT86 coming in at S1 894. Honda S2K coming in at S1 889. So it is what it is. Car did all right, and I think with maybe a little more tuning, you probably dial out some of that oversteer. But the car had virtually almost no understeer except for in the really tight section. That's to be given with any car when you're pushing it that hard. And honestly, it felt really good. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's all I have for you today. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2008 BMW M3 Widebody twin turbo swap. Did pretty decent in my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a blast making it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the new commentary style and the review style, where I go in and actually talk about the stock version of the same car. Let me know in the comments if you guys like it or not, if I should just go back to something else, or if you guys have better suggestions or what you would like to see in the future videos. Let me know down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos to come. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. But on a quick note, if you guys made it to all the way to the end of the video, I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. But I do have to let some of y'all subscribers know this might be the last video for a week or so, a week or two maybe. We are in the middle of a move right now, so I'm not going to really be at the computer anymore. We're going to be moving here shortly. But I will be doing live streams for the rest of this week. Probably up until Saturday. After that, I probably will be packed up. The computer will be packed up. I won't be able to do anything. But I just wanted to let everyone know that. No, I'm not going to go away forever. I'm not taking a break or anything. I'm just in the middle of a move. Won't be able to make any videos until we're set back up again when we get to where we're going. So anyway, like I said, I appreciate you guys stopping in here, hanging out, and watching the video all the way through. Hope y'all enjoyed. Have a great day. Peace out.